welcome to this week's episode with Oana Juncu. In a moment, she's going to tell you how you can design organizations which benefit from chaos. But before she begins, I'm going to tell you that you can still register. Please join these awesome keynote and tutorial speakers and bring back some knowledge to your company and your team. You can register on the Agile Testing Days homepage. And now to you, Anna.
Hello. Thank you, Sabine. I'm Oana Juncu, and I'm very happy to have been invited to present this topic, Design Organization for Tomorrow. I'm working with people, and people are part of organizations. Now, to start, I won't introduce myself more than that. To start this, well, why design organizations? Because our brain loves frameworks and patterns. We love to sort everything from peanuts to concepts in something. So I will start with presenting a pattern that you might know is very, very popular right now. Go quickly through this. Ta-da! It's the Cynefin model of reality. So we as people, we also wanted to put reality in patterns. So Dave Snowden proposed this very helpful model of system. It's a systemic approach. So there are simple systems, complicated systems, complex, and chaos. So what's the difference very quickly between these systems? The simple systems. The simple systems are those systems where the data has the answer. You just see the data and you know the answer, like a traffic light. You see green, you know what you have to do. It's obvious. So in a simple system, when it's obvious what you do, you sense what is happening, the data has the answer, and you respond. You see the green light, you accelerate. You know that you can pass, you accelerate. So it's obvious. You have your best established practices. So these simple systems, one thing that I want to share with you, how are they? I think they are rigid. Are they rigid? They are simple to use, but if you want to change them, it's impossible, because remember, the data is the answer. Next steps, complicated system. Well, complicated systems are regulated systems. Predictable systems, but where you really need an expert to sort it out. In complicated system, what's happening, you sense what you're seeing, there is a lot of analysis going on, and then you respond. Complicated systems are predictable. You can have a list of good practices, rather long list of good practices, and you need rules and experts. That complicated systems are regulated. Can also, I would like to call this type of system as robust. No, they are robust. As they are predictable, you can lean on them. You know exactly what will happen. The input, you have the process, you have the rules. The output is predictable. Then comes in what we call the butterfly effect. To introduce you the complex bit of the story. Well, the butterfly effect comes from the chaos theory, not from complex system. Just to remind you, the butterfly effect says that when a butterfly wings, then in a corner of the earth, maybe a tsunami will take part in the other part. This metaphor is helpful to present complex systems, so I'm using it to introduce you to the complex systems, those systems where whatever the input is, the output is not predictable. You just don't know what happens. So the human brain, you remember what I've said, loves to search for patterns in this moment. Patterns create resilient systems that have a elastic response. The fractals, when there's something that that happens, they respond by coming back to the position that they had before. So they resist, but not as a robust system, which is predictable, more in an elastic way. Nature, as I've showed in the slide before, has a lot of fractal elements to be resilient. And we as humans also applied resiliency to human architecture. What you see in the slide is one Nigerian village and a big European city. You might recognize Amsterdam, that are built on a fractal architecture. Allows us to be resilient. So to summarize, what's the complex part in the Cynefin as I see it? In complex, of course, you try something, you see what's the output, and then you respond to that output. Not predictable. You don't know what will be the output. You just give an input, make a bet, and wait for the output. Why? To create a pattern. So the complex systems are continuously pattern searching system, emerging practices. I'd like to qualify complex systems as systems that provide resilience, elasticity, are fractal, as I've showed in the slides before. Now, this is the moment that that will stay a little bit longer in this piece, because you might have already known Cynefin model, very popular in the agile communities. If you were to design your resilient team, what would you do? Well, search patterns in your organization. And remember that while you create this fractal organization, you are part of the system. So each input that you put in the system is distorted by the fact that you are also given that input. To create a fractal system, just a bow to one of my favorite methods are the Legos. So you can also try to use Legos to design your organization. Legos are infinite metaphors and infinite stories that you can create. If you take just 8 Lego bricks, you have 915,103 900 million, sorry, 915 millions, 103 and 765 possibilities to create new organizations. So there's a lot of inspiration there to create a resilient, complex organization just using Legos. Well, now while we are creating pattern organizations that might be resilient, I have 2 gentle warnings. The first one is patterns lead to new cognitive biases. Each time that we create pattern, we tend to push them in the simple part of the Cynefin framework. So each pattern can lead to new cognitive biases. And a second gentle reminder, usually in organization, we strive to create performant teams. But nature, if you use the model of nature and its fractal system, nature don't design life for performance. It truly designs it for resilience. So what creates resilience? Redundancy, by example. Fractal, as I said before. When you design your organization, never underestimate the value of redundancy in your team. So this was a bit about complex, and in complex organizations, so fractal, smoothly, pattern emerging, and you sense and respond. But sometimes things happened, incidents. This is one of my experience I had loved to share with you. Schiphol Airport, last January. Tower control system bug effect. Usually, Schiphol is a wonderful airport. You might also know it and appreciate it. What a nice user experience it offers. When a tower control system bug effect happens, there is chaos. When we face an emergency, each system, either we consider it simple, complicated, or complex, it turns to chaos. What happens in a chaotic system is that first react because there's an emergency. Then we sense what happens and respond. Or other way said, it's crisis management. This is the way that we usually respond to it. And there are novel practices, those practices that will never be repeatable. No patterns emerging. There's no pattern. It's just an emergency or different emergencies that we continuously cope with. Are novel practices that unique one-time used practice for that specific event, incident. Okay, so this is going through all the Cynefin step-by-step, of course, complex, resilient, favorite for agilist, because we are in a complex organization. We consider our organization as being in complex. There's a sweet spot at the, or the mystery spot, I would say, in the middle of the Cynefin, which is the disorder, the transition point, the place of all possibilities. Because from any state, we can trigger to another state in a very easy way. You know, Rubik's Cube can be complicated, but if we know the rules how to sort it out, it just becomes simple. Our mind again. Now, our brain loves patterns, and also it loves it can memorize 3 things at once, not more. Our short-term memory, all these 3 things. That's why we love to sort all the things. I think that's my opinion. I think that's why we love to make everything simple. Even Agile as a complex system, when we search for patterns, we want to make it a simple system. You know, that's the system where you act and then you react, always repeatable. Or maybe from complex, we'd like to put it in at least complicated with rulers and experts, which is not always possible, because complex system could trigger to chaos, and even simple system, if there's an incident, can trigger to chaos. Complicated system, no. Bug fixing. Remember the traffic light example I gave you. Traffic light works well okay, if there is incident with traffic lights, it can easily go into chaos, or at least complicated to fix the bug. Maybe the electrical system is complicated. If we have some expert, it will fix it. Meantime, we might have chaos in the street. So every situation can switch to everything, from everywhere to everywhere. So it's not that easy to just classify a system as being complex, complicated, simple, or chaotic. It can be everything at a time. Depends from the perspective. From simple regulations, complicated to complex, when we realize that actually we don't have any good practices. From complex to chaos, where we don't know exactly what is happening, or there's an incident. For simple to chaos by an incident, and so on. So my last thing here is, okay, all this is nice, and you might have gone through it, but chaos is a very interesting place to be in. It's a place of innovation. It's a place that we can embrace. What if we just imagine, what if we would benefit from the variability, that means the incidents that came from chaos. One example, this is the example of the volcano from Iceland back in 2008, when there was the eruption, so no flights, no planes. An instant conference took place in London. The different agile experts were stuck in London, and they said, what if we are doing one single unique edition of a conference? So we had the Agile Volcano back in 2008 with these people. Well, this was one example that just follows me since 10 years, creating systems that actually benefit from chaos. We just don't want to take them away from chaos, to make them simple, complicated. We just say, hey, chaos is an opportunity to be even better and create those anti-fragile systems, the systems that benefit from chaos. Anti-fragile is a concept that was defined by Nassim Taleb. Anti-fragile systems are learning continuums. Nature is anti-fragile. By the way, our brain is also anti-fragile. And we can also create maybe anti-fragile organization, as also innovation is an anti-fragile behavior. Nature improves from incidents. Earshell, the example that I'm giving here, is has a structure that can be attacked with a bazooka without being broken. So in terms of resistance, this is a wonderful example. Nature evolved from incidents. Why wouldn't our organization do the same? So this is my last interpretation. I know I'm a little bit over time. I have for 2 minutes or maybe more. Yeah, about 2 minutes. A picture of the featured Cynefin framework or pattern. Simple systems are obvious and rigid. Complicated systems are predictable. A lot of rules are robust, but also can break if the rules don't apply. Complex systems are those that are resilient. When you can build up those fractal units as teams and have pattern searching and the chaos bit is that interesting bit when you can create anti-fragile systems that benefit from incident. What if we created those teams and design your own anti-fragile team? How can we do it? You seek opportunities over fixing an incident. If there's an incident, ask yourself, instead of panicking, what is the benefit that a team can have from unexpected situation? How can that benefit to your team? How can that benefit to your customers or other stakeholders? Use creative thinking as Legos, remember, visual facilitations, or other favorite practices that you have. And remember all the time, you're part of the system. Embrace cognitive diversity. Seek opportunities to always have new people that have different ways of thinking. Never have homogeneous teams create blind spots. So rigid people that don't embrace uncertainty are good. Creative people are good. Put them together. So if you strive for stability, we like to limit variability. Remember that slide. But if we limit variability, we create blind spots. So my very last message to you is, what about switching our mindset from agile and complex systems to an anti-fragile mindset and just explore our opportunities and benefit from all the incidents? Thank you.
Thank you, Oana. This was a really great talk, and I think you are correct to embrace chaos because it's also part of the nature. You cannot prevent it to happen, so always be open if an incident happened and always see the positive thing about it. I think that's a quite good advice. If you have any questions, please contact Oana via Twitter. She can answer your questions more properly. There she is, Oana.
Hello.
So, next week, Eddie Bruin is talking about a topic which is relating to agile games. And he says games are not only for children. We have to take them seriously, and we can manage to improve our work and work in a safe environment. So please join me next week. This was all for today. I thank you, Oana, for your talk.
Thank you, Sabine. Thank you.
Thank you for being my guest. And I see you in Potsdam.
See you in Potsdam, Sabine. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.